Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera Show. I'm so pleased tonight to introduce my special guest, Sherry Castle. Sherry, thank you so much for driving all the way from Chapel Hill to be with us tonight.
I'm delighted. I've been a fan of yours for a long time, so this was a pleasure.
Well, this is great. And you know, I've had such a wonderful time getting to know more and more folks that are involved in cookbook writing. Sherry actually is on her third cookbook. She's going to tell us about that in just a few minutes. But the book that she brought with her this time that is in just has done phenomenally well. All the recipes tonight that we're doing are from that cookbook, the Southern Garden Cookbook.
That's right.
So we're using fresh vegetables, fresh fruits. It's going to be so great. But you know, Sherry, yesterday when we were spending time talking about what we were going to do on the show, and you'll find this true when you start reading her new cookbook, is that she's a storyteller.
I am.
And there's so many things about food and recipes and family get-togethers that are all centered around the particular food that you ate at that time or why that recipe means something to you. So I have really enjoyed getting to know you and learning more about it. Really looking forward to the new cookbook, but really cannot say enough about the one that you've got right here. So you've got my two favorite colors going in this frying pan. You know, VeryVera colors are lavender and green. That's why you picked that, right?
Exactly, that's why I picked it. Plus, the flavors are so good together.
Oh, and it's just beautiful. Well, what are we doing here?
What I have in here so far is I melted a little bit of butter in a trusted cast iron skillet, but any oven-proof skillet will work just fine. And I've cooked some red onion and some asparagus. You know, asparagus is really good almost year-round now. We have our local kind, but you can get good asparagus almost any time of year. And you know, sometimes people say, well, how do I know I'm picking out the good asparagus in the store or the farmer's market? Well, you know, fruits and vegetables will talk to us. The thing about asparagus, if you can notice this, is see how those little tippy points are really tightly closed together with sort of a blue-gray tinge? That's a sign of freshness, because as asparagus gets older, it spreads out. So when they are tightly closed with that wonderful darker tone, that is great asparagus.
Oh, it's so pretty.
It is so pretty. And you know, it doesn't matter whether your stalks are small or large. That's always true at any diameter. So I've cooked these here a little bit in a little bit of butter, and I'm going to add back in shiitake mushrooms. Now, why have I saved those till later? Shiitakes do not play well with others in the pan. They taste good.
They are not friendly.
They are not friendly. They want to be cooked on their own without salt.
Spoiled.
Spoiled rotten they are. And shiitakes are these ones that look like, you know, little toadstools, like little umbrellas and so forth. Shiitakes are the ones you can never use the stem, no matter what. So the stem has got to go.
Do you see what I mean about storytelling?
Yeah. And then anytime you've got a mushroom, it needs to be white and pretty on the underside. If they're brown and mushy, that mushroom has seen its last good day.
Oh my gosh.
So take that off, and that's it. And then I'm going to put in a little bit of fresh thyme. Now, you know, we're making a frittata. Frittata being sort of an open-faced one-dish egg dish. And it's an idea, it's not a recipe. So if you've got
eggs, that's a great point.
It is. So if you don't have or don't care for asparagus and shiitakes and red onion, put in some broccoli, put in some other vegetables. You can do things. It's really anything you like. You can cook and put the eggs on top. And I like it because you can serve it for brunch, lunch, supper. You know, a lot of us have supper.
This is one of those refrigerator cleaner outers.
It absolutely is. And frittatas, they have two great things about them. One is, if everybody wants to eat warm eggs at the same time, you make a pan of this, everybody gets a bite. However, they're also good room temperature, and a lot of things aren't. I used to be really lucky to get to spend a lot of time in Italy, and they would take their leftover frittata, and that's how they made an egg sandwich. Is they would put a piece of frittata on good bread. So we put our thyme in there. You could put basil. You could put anything. We just zipped it right off. And you, as we've been chatting, have put the eggs and Parmesan cheese. You could use cheddar, Gruyere. Again, it's an idea, not a fixed formula.
Well, and it's so nice to walk into Fresh Market and they've already done this for you.
Absolutely.
You know, you can buy it grated or shredded. So you're ready for this, right?
I am. And just, you know, this is warm. These are about half cooked. You're going to pour that over the top, and it starts on the stove. You finish it in the oven.
Oh my gosh.
So there's no flipping, there's no omeleting, there's no thing.
I'm going to get that cheese out of there too.
Oh, we want every speck of cheese. We do indeed. But that's how easy it is. You just get everything together.
Okay, and what temperature have you got the broiler on?
We've got it on pretty high, on about 450 or 500. You want it hot enough to make everything melt, but not so hot that the top's done before the eggs are set.
All right, well, y'all come back with us after the break because this is going to go under the broiler and we're going to get started next on that delicious dessert. So come back with us. Hey, welcome back, and if you're just joining us, I have a very special guest tonight, Sherry Castle from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And actually, I kind of was in that neck of the woods when I was little. I lived in Raleigh, was born in Charlotte, so we have that in common too, Sherry. But Sherry is the author of the new Southern Garden Cookbook, which we're doing all the recipes from tonight. Right. And you know, this whole cookbook experience has got to get more ingrained in my blood because I'm trying to do the same thing with VeryVera. So she's helping me and coaching me and getting me going. But while we were away from the break, we took that gorgeous frittata out of the oven, and I cannot wait to taste it. And you know, Sherry, I've never done something like that where you actually did the total cooking under the broiler.
That's exactly right. We had it at 450 so that the eggs would get set and the top would get browned. And you know, it frees up burners, it frees up your hands. You can get on with things.
I just cannot wait to try that recipe myself. And then I got to whip the cream and put the mascarpone cheese. And what we were trying to accomplish there is sort of a pudding-like consistency for this wonderful trifle that we're going to do. So let's get started. I can't wait. The strawberries are so beautiful.
So pretty. And you know, we were talking earlier about how good they smell. Strawberries, you can smell them before you can see them when they're ripe. So follow your nose on that. And we're going to have 4 stages in this. Simple things. We have in this bowl already a jar of strawberry preserves or strawberry jam, whichever you have. And that was Grand Marnier liqueur, the liqueur that tastes like oranges. And then we're going to add some fresh orange juice to make this a little bit more like a syrup or something. If for some reason you prefer not to cook with Grand Marnier, just add more juice. And you want it until it's about like a sauce consistency. So depending on how soft or firm your jam is, you may need a little more or a little less orange juice. And so that's all there is to that. And you're putting our first layer of cream in there.
And you taught me something, Sherry. She said, you can say that, but she actually told me this because I had a spatula out here to do this. And she said, I've got an ice cream scoop in my little pack. And if you do that, it really keeps the edges, you know, fairly clean when you do that. So it's about a real heaping spoonful of that.
And then we're doing these in drinking glasses because not everyone has one of those pretty pedestal trifle bowls. And even if you do, that makes an awful lot. So we're doing this. You can make 2, 4, 6, however many folks that you have. And if you would please put this last one down in here, I'm going to tell folks about these little lady fingers. These are crisp lady fingers. And we were talking, now that there's Fresh Market, you can get these at the grocery store. They're crisp lady fingers. They're right there on the cookie aisle near the vanilla wafers and all of those familiar things. But if for some strange reason you can't find them, little strips of pound cake will work in a pinch. And you'll notice that our wonderful whipped cream mascarpone mixture holds these in place so they don't fall over.
And you know, the young people that are watching this show don't understand that we used to have to go crazy looking for ingredients, and it truly is wonderful to be able to go into Fresh Market and some of the things that we used to have to go search for at a specialty store would be there.
And it makes this. All right, so then, you know, again, just like with the frittata, this is more for looks. You want your layers to show, so you spoon on a little of this wonderful Grand Marnier strawberry preserve thing, cover that up, and then some fresh berries. And generally this is sweet enough. You don't have to sugar them, but you can if you want to. And you'll notice I'm very precisely putting an exact amount in here.
A big handful.
A big handful. And put that in there. And then you can put a touch more of this, and then the I'm going to put a little bit more of this.
Because I can't wait to do this.
And then you blow up the top
this tastes so good.
And you can use that, you know, if you don't have time to do all of this, just adding that mascarpone cheese to whipped cream will make you, just with a bowl of berries, works just fine.
Now, can you do this ahead?
You can. You'll get 2 different outcomes, and they're both fantastic. If you eat them now, it's crisp. If they sit for 2 or 3 hours in the refrigerator, the cookies soften a little bit. And then, of course, we have to save, you know, the 2 prettiest berries. Sort out the ones you get. I'll do one if you'll do one.
Oh, man.
All right, and you put these on top. So I'll even tell you.
What a sweet dessert.
Doesn't that look like something? We did
Yes.
drinking glasses out of the fridge. But I've got to tell you what I've done before. When I have taken these like to a picnic or to the symphony or something like that, I use pint canning jars. Put the lids on, put them in my
like a ball
basket,
jar.
like a ball jar,
Okay,
exactly.
mason jar.
Down in there, put the lids on, tuck them in my cooler when you get to the lake or to the beach or whatever.
That is a great idea. Did y'all hear that?
Yes.
I want to see some of you folks doing that.
Exactly. So look what we have. We have tiramisu, which people order, but we've switched it up by using fresh fruit. Still got the liqueur, still got the mascarpone. It's what we know, changed up to make it new.
Oh, it's fabulous. Well, she keeps coming up with new ideas, so you've got to come back after the break because we're going to put together a wonderful salad, and then she's going to tell you more about that brand new cookbook that's coming out very soon. So come back with us after the break. As a married couple, you have the opportunity to write your name as a couple many, many different ways. And I know I've been confused sometimes exactly what to do and what's appropriate. First thought that comes to my mind is when you're writing your name together with your husband, it's easy to remember Mr. and Mrs. Andrew J. Kilpatrick II, that you know that for sure. But if we're writing our names where I'm using the two of our names and our last name, you want to remember to always keep your husband's name closest to the last name. If you're using it together, like people say Andy and Vera, or Vera and Andy, as long as the last name's not there and you're putting it on the invitation with just the two first names, it really doesn't matter which order you use it in. And then finally, when you're signing a book, like for example at the funeral home, just make sure that you write legibly and that you keep that rule of thumb in mind, that don't separate the husband's last name from his first name in the way that you sign it, and you'll always do the right thing. You know, what could be better than two Southern cooks in the kitchen at one time? Sherry, I'm having such a wonderful time, and I'm learning things, and you're such a great storyteller. You just, you know, you're very, very prompt and almost off the cuff with things that I didn't even know. We were talking earlier about the stove that is part of the kitchen here and how I had to learn which pots and pans would work. And she said, well, if a magnet sticks to it, then
it works.
It works.
Induction,
and I'm going,
yeah.
why didn't somebody tell me that? So thank you so much for that. And you know, while we were away from the break, I got some pecans toasted, and I love to use pecans, even if it says walnuts or almonds, but just because, you know, those are in our backyard.
Those are the southern nut.
That is the southern nut, and I just feel a little awkward if I don't use that. So I'm really glad this recipe called for that, but we've got beautiful ingredients. You're getting ready to do a wonderful salad.
A salad with a strawberry vinaigrette. You know, the strawberries are profuse most of the year, and we know about desserts and all. I love this because it's a slightly savory way to use some of those berries, particularly if you have berries that have gotten almost too ripe to do anything else. They're not gone, but they're almost gone.
Oh, okay.
Perfect because you're going to grind
Just
them
like
up
you
anyway.
would do banana bread with ripe bananas.
Exactly. So, you know, this is another one of those eyeball things. You can use a food processor, you can use a blender. We're going to put in some berries that we've chopped up just a little bit, and then we're going to put in, this is raspberry vinegar, but if you don't have raspberry vinegar, you can put in champagne vinegar, white wine vinegar, but you want something light, because a lot of people like balsamic in strawberries, but I tell you, I made this one with balsamic. The color was not good, and you're going to have to explain that.
And that's local honey too.
Local honey, I love that. And you know, you can really gauge the amount of honey to your own personal preference and also to how sweet your berries are. You may not even need but a little bit. And then if I can borrow that cute little special,
Isn't
love
that
this.
cute?
This is a little bit of mustard, and people are going to go, why on earth are you putting mustard in strawberries? Well, if you've ever noticed, most vinaigrette recipes have a little mustard. It gives it body. It keeps it from breaking apart. It's an emulsifier. So it gives you a little flavor, but it's mainly for the cooking chemistry. Now we're going to buzz this up a little bit, and then we're going to put some oil in there, and that's just how easy this is.
Gosh, you know, you never think about what to do with things when they're getting too ripe to use. So this will stay in the refrigerator for quite a while.
It does, and it holds its color, and it's good on so many things. Now, this is a mild olive oil, and I'm going to eyeball this because I've made this 100 times. You can put a little oil or a lot. You know, we all have our own preference of how much oil we like in things. If you don't have a mild olive oil, canola oil or one of those is the way to go because you know, because this is still fruity. Even though, you know, it's not sweet, it's still fruity. Bunches of pepper, and this pepper is going to come back up again in a minute. I'll think about that. And finish whizzing it up, and we're good to go.
Oh, gosh, it's so pretty.
It's really, really pretty. And you know, I try to leave it so there's a little bit of strawberry pieces, you know, not too ground up. And then what we have here is just a little green salad. Got some pretty butter lettuce. Now this is a fairly thick dressing. You want some of your more crunchy lettuce and things. You know, those pretty little leaves we use. It will look like the stuff stuck on the underside of your lawnmower. You want crispier leaves. So a little bit of that, as much or as little as you want. Got some more of our berries on there, some of your gorgeous toasted pecans, and that's a little more of goat cheese.
Love this.
Exactly, which we used in the frittata.
Well, and look how pretty this plate. This is that Ann Weatherly that they sell at Three Monkeys in Aiken, and they're nice enough to let me use this beautiful, and it just looks so great. The polka dot on there kind of goes with the polka dot and the strawberry.
That's fantastic.
And then these are those toasted pecans that we went ahead and did.
And you know, we're going to serve this with the frittata, but if you ever want to do a light, warm weather supper, put a little grilled chicken on top of that, some leftover steak, and it is a fabulous entree salad.
All right, well, we're well on our way to having a wonderful meal, and when we come back from the break, Sherry is going to tell us all about this new Southern Living community cookbook that she's getting ready to get out very, very soon. So come back and join us after the break. Welcome back, and I have had the best time tonight, and obviously you can see we've got a lot of color going on here, a lot of interest, and as Sherry said, and this is Sherry Castle, who has joined me from Chapel Hill tonight, you know, this is wonderful for a quick salad luncheon or a brunch, or you could even turn this salad into a main dish. So, I can't wait to plate everything and see how it turned out. So I'm going to give you the task of getting this out of the pan.
And you know, you can get anywhere from 4 to 6 servings out of this. It sort of depends on how many appetites, you know, things like that, how many side dishes and all. And ideally, you'll have some moisture. You don't want it too dry. You don't want it too wet. The cheese that you use will affect that a little bit. And as we were saying at the beginning, put the things that you enjoy in there. And you know, if they need a little bonus asparagus, you can get that back out there. And I love this one plain, but sometimes I'll do it with different fillings. And if you need a little sauce, warmed up marinara sauce, a little pesto, a little something is just great. But you know, you've got your color, your crunch, your texture.
Oh, that is just beautiful. And you know, just listening to you describe it is part of your storytelling. And you know, Sherry has shared with me that part of her brand and what she presents when she does a cookbook is telling the story or pointing out the little tidbits about the recipes. So I know everyone is as anxious as I was yesterday about your new cookbook, the Southern Living Community Cookbook. So let's share a little bit about that.
Well, it'll be out in the fall, early to mid-October, and what Southern Living asked me to do is to go back through their 48 years of reader recipes. As we probably all recall,
48 years.
48 years, and you know, they've always included recipes from readers and things. And I went through and from those picked out 225 and made an old-fashioned community cookbook. It's not literally spiral bound, but it's that spiral bound kind of thing, like a church cookbook, a junior league book, and things. And as the friends around here will be particularly interested, after we did all that, I went back and picked out 12 super special community cookbooks, and Tea Time at the Masters is one of the ones I
You're
picked.
kidding.
So it's going to have its own page and everything. Exactly. So that's one of the ones that came
That
out.
is crazy great.
It was really
exciting.
exciting.
We all in Augusta, of course, say, well, I'm making the peg salad out of Tea Time at the Masters, but the fact that you selected that is so exciting for Augusta.
It really is, and that plays back to the story. I mean, we get excited. We all like to read about our own hometown, our own personal favorites, our family favorites, and
Right.
it's really sort of like a little time capsule. You can say, oh gosh, my mom made that, or we made that, or do you remember the time we made that? And that's the power of a food story.
Well, and it's also part of, you had said recently you were at someone's home and you just can't help but notice the shelf in the kitchen
Right.
where the cookbooks are, and you can tell a lot about whether or not someone knows how to cook or has interest in food by looking to see what sort of cookbooks they have in their shelf.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the story too. And I know through the years with catering, going back to those junior league cookbooks from the different towns, the community cookbooks like the hospital auxiliary,
Right.
or I've even got one from Belk's in Macon, Georgia, where I went to high school. So all of that is going to be so exciting. We want to have you back.
You bet.
Once that cookbook is out and we can do more with it. But I wanted to also point out, Three Monkeys in Aiken, it does our set, and it's just so beautifully done. They brought over, when she heard that we were doing trifles, they've got these great Simon Pierce glasses, and while we were gone during the break, we put together one of the trifles in there too. So keep that in mind when you're out and about in Aiken to do that. But I just want to thank you again, Sherry, for being my guest. I'm so excited about what's coming up with you.
Thank you.
I hope that all of you will come back and join us next week for another episode of the VeryVera Show. But in the meantime, I don't know about you, but I'm ready to dive into this dessert.
Absolutely.
It just looks great. So keep these recipes in mind. They're available on our website at NBC26.tv. And if you want more information on Sherry Castle, be sure to go to Sherry Castle, and that's singular.com. Everything about her new book and some of her blog posts will be there.
That's right.
Dig in.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks. Come back next week.